This is a brief overview of a troubleshooting exercise related to e-prescriptions. A little background: a new system had been installed for sending prescriptions electronically to pharmacies in the area. The system was working well, but then errors began to occur periodically. As the errors occurred, the prescriptions had to be called in, which in turn resulted in downtime, added cost, and physician aggravation. The error log provided some limited information as to the cause of the problem, but unfortunately the office manager began to make changes to the system without thoroughly investigating the reasons for the errors, which in turn actually increased the number of errors rather than resolving the issue. Step 1 in troubleshooting is always to identify the problem. In this case, there was some sort of problem that was preventing the electronic submission of prescriptions to area pharmacies. It wasn't a consistent problem, but rather one that occurred intermittently. However, the problem had gotten progressively worse and then was further exacerbated by the actions of the office manager. There are a number of possible causes for this type of error: a system configuration problem, a data entry problem, a problem with the actual transmission to the pharmacy, or a problem with the receiving system, the pharmacy itself. The fact that the system was working correctly and then began to fail intermittently would suggest that the system was configured correctly. This would lead the troubleshooter to conclude that there might have been a problem with the transmission between the physician's office and the pharmacy, or a problem with data entry. A review of the error log file reveals that there is a problem with data entry in the field called Schedule 1, and that the data is not within a certain table, and/or the data that is being entered is not among the list of allowed values. Knowing this information allows the troubleshooter to take a closer look at the data entry process. Had this been done first, the office manager would not have created an additional layer of problems. Step 3, there would be several questions to ask to determine what is causing the problem at the data entry level. When did the problem first occur? Is there a connection between the errors and one or more end users entering the data? Is there a problem with the Schedule 1 field? Is there an issue with the approved values that can be entered into certain fields, or are there additional problems with the PVD file format? Through further analysis, it was determined that the errors began to occur on May 22nd, shortly after a new nurse was hired to work for the Superior Care Health Group. Because the nurse was hired when someone else was on vacation and there was a staff shortage, the nurse was not trained for data entry. However, she did jump in to assist, and 82% of the errors that were found were related to her entries. The remaining errors were related to a lack of approved values required for the prescriptions to be correct, so end users have been using pull-down options that were close to the desired input, but not really correct. This appeared to be the result of a new prescription drug that became available at about the same time the errors started to occur, and it's one that may not have been listed in the formulary. Step 4 for troubleshooting. With the root cause for the errors discovered, the office manager could obtain training for the new nurse so that she could input information correctly to facilitate the electronic submission of prescriptions. Additionally, the office manager can add an additional pull-down for the new prescription so that orders for the new medication can be submitted electronically with no further failures. Once these steps have been carried out, the office manager would want to send through some trial prescriptions using the system and continue to run the error file over the next few weeks to be sure the problem has been resolved. In conclusion, this particular scenario points up the importance of carefully analyzing a situation before jumping in and randomly making changes. This is true for both regular work situations and those that involve the use of technology. It also identifies the need to have documentation as to who to contact when new systems are installed, and possibly to weed out potential vendors who are not accessible for system support on a 24/7 basis. It would have also been beneficial to have a method in place for identifying errors when they occurred, and/or a routine review of the error file.